All right, a Labor Day special. Federal construction projects mean big money for contractors. So are the unions being favored over local contractors for some of these jobs? Our next guest says yes, and that these union-only project labor agreements, PLAs, are discriminatory and un-American. Joining us now from D.C. is Associated Builders and Contractors Rep. Brett McMahon. Hey, Brett, not only it seems to me that there's a built-in advantage for union shops, but you as a non-union shop actually have to fund some of these union welfare trusts as well. I mean, how much more biased can that be?
Yeah, it's what they require is really a double payment, especially if you're paying already for your own workers. If you're allowed actually to bring some of them to the job site, which is actually not terribly common, you have to pay both sets of benefits into a union plan that these folks, actually the workers there, will never see. They're never on a job long enough to be vested in anything, so it really is just taking money out of young, hardworking people's hands.
Brett, when I was researching this, again, I always get so frustrated with the politics involved in every little aspect of our daily lives. So this is just a whole, it goes back and forth. When you had a Republican administration, well, first it started with Clinton, and he signed this into law, and then Bush signed it out of law, and now Obama signs it back into law, because whether the unions are supporting the campaign or not, as a business person, aside from all this political nonsense, this just must be frustrating, having to try to run a business, all the small business contractors out there having to deal with all this political BS when they're trying to make a livelihood.
Yeah, you know, we are, and you said it well, we are small businesses. We're not folks with a bunch of lobbyists running around the hill. We have our associations that do the best they can, but, you know, in this case, the unions have kind of figured out that they really can't compete in the marketplace, and they've not chosen to do so. So they buy a couple of politicians here or there around here in D.C., and all of a sudden the market is made for them. These things really do harm construction workers up and down the chain.
Brett, you know, the counter-argument would be that the stimulus is supposed, I mean, I am not a stimulus advocate, and I think this is a lie anyway, but the stimulus is supposed to be creating jobs. So if we're going to create jobs, shouldn't we make them the high-quality union jobs out there rather than the $6 an hour local guy trying to get by and not even being able to make his rent anyway? So what can you speak to that at least? I mean, maybe it's a good thing that we make the jobs all high-quality.
Well, you know, that's true. Actually, we have this old 1932 or 4 law called the Davis-Bacon Act that was designed to keep low-paid Mississippi black folks from working up in Long Island, actually, at the time. And that created a standardized wage system, which is what you're paid on a normal federal job without a PLA. In this case, you actually have to employ union workers and get them through these old-fashioned hiring hall systems, which is essentially running a business with renting your employees for a time.
Hey, Brett,
no way to run a railroad.
Give us a sense on how much added cost to the taxpayer these jobs might be. Is it an additional 5%, 10%? How much?
What our studies have shown is that in a competitive market, a normally competitive market, it's 12 to 18%. And frankly, with the way this is set up, chances are very good that that number will escalate. So taxpayers are paying way too much here.
Well, why is it so much more? Is because, as Cody was saying, the union jobs pay better, you get better health benefits, whereas somebody who's in a non-union shop, they pay their workers less and they can bid lower on a contract. I mean, why the cost so much more there?
Well, that's what they'd like to tell you. What actually happens is you have these work rules that dictate things like how many carpenters have to build one thing or the other, as opposed to those of us who've put, my company alone, 12 million cubic yards of concrete in place. We have a pretty good idea of how to do that. We don't need some archaic rule to tell us how to do that. It's not a wage thing, really. It's a work rule thing that really drives these wage rates and inefficiency.
In the end, Brett, it's just going to cost us jobs. They say minimum wage being raised costs us jobs. Now this is going to cost us jobs. I thought we had an unemployment problem in this country.
No question it'll cost us jobs, and it'll especially cost us jobs on the bottom end of the scale, because you're going to end up having to deal with these also archaic apprenticeship regulations that limits the amount of young, new people that can work on these jobs.
All right. Thanks a lot, Brett McMahon, Associated Builders and Contractors. Thanks a lot.